To believe the hype or to not believe the hype? 13 days away from training camp. That is the question. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game.
Welcome to the locker room. The number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. We're 13 days away from training camp. Oh my, how things have changed. Last 2 years been a little rough, but we've been in this together. We've been there every step of the way. Started the channel before last year. Still going strong. And better days are ahead. There is hype. There is hype with substance. There is substance to this organization. It's not trying to sell yourself on Davis Mills. It's not trying to sell yourself on, well, Lovie Smith. At least he resembles a head coach, unlike David Culley. You got one of the most sought-after head coaching candidates in D'Amico Ryans. You got some young talent. You don't have $75 million dead cap. So there is tangible hype. But are we buying all of the hype? This midnight drop, I am going to go through the seven guys that are getting the most hype. And I'm going to talk about whether I am buying the hype or selling the hype. I want you to tell me what you think. Subscribe, ride along. Appreciate everyone for coming through. We're pushing 5K. We're pushing the million views, and it's going to get better. Going to have some players on the stream. Going to interview players live on the field when camp goes down. Number one source for Texans digital content, and really some of the best Texans coverage you can get. And shout out to everyone else out there doing their thing in the digital game, in the print game. Hope you're refreshed. Hope you're ready to go because it's going to be a hell of an effing ride, and we appreciate you riding along for us. It really is. Good vibes. And seventh most hyped up guy, and this could be in no particular order, but there are seven guys that I think are generating the most hype locally. And we localize it here. This is the pulse of the Texans. And this guy's getting some national love as well. Tank Dell. Tank Dell, when guys from U of H get hype or local guys get hype, you always got to grade on a curve. You always got to say, okay, is this guy going to live up to this hype? Is this hype because they covered him in college? Tank Dell is interesting. I'm actually buying the hype with Tank Dell. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say Tank Dell's going to lead the team in receiving. I just think some guys just know how to make plays. That's a cliche. Hit the cliche bell, Figgy. Some guys just know how to make plays. If Tank Dell were 3 inches, 4 inches taller, he wouldn't have been there for the Houston Texans to draft. I think Bobby Slow is going to have to get creative in the way that he gets Tank Dell the rock. I think he's naturally going to help in the third phase, special teams. And I think Tank Dell is just a guy who knows how to make plays. You've heard CJ Stroud rave about him. They already got a good relationship. You've heard Davis Mills talk about him. You've heard Robert Woods talk about him. You've heard Noah Brown talk about him. Tank Dell is one of those guys. I'm buying the hype. Now, am I buying it as much as a lot of the local reporters that seem to be real giddy about him? Not really, but I am buying the Tank Dell hype. Next guy, Christian Harris, my guy. What a freak athlete Christian Harris is. Went to college on LSU's campus, I should say high school on LSU's campus, decided to go to Alabama. Here's the thing. He'd never played linebacker before. He'd played corner. He'd played some offense, but he'd never played linebacker before. Ended up starting pretty much every game of his career for Nick Saban at linebacker, and then drafted by the Texans in day 2. I've seen the name Fred Warner thrown around with Christian Harris. That's kind of one of those snowball things where I've heard some guys make the comparison, and then you see guys just kind of piggyback off of it. Naturally, it always happens. Like whenever someone comes over from a team, it's always like, well, who can be this guy? Like you hear Bobby Slowick, the new offensive coordinator for the Texans, like, well, who's George Kittle? Maybe he can be used by Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Maybe not. Like maybe not. Maybe just let Christian Harris be Christian Harris. He can run. He can make plays. D'Amico Ryans knows what the hell he's doing. He knows how to coach linebackers. I am buying the hype with Christian Harris. He was my favorite rookie last year. I think D'Amico is going to do wonders for him. I would though tap the brakes, and I'm not gonna combat like the most extreme, but I'm not gonna throw out the Fred Warner comparison. I'm just gonna say Christian Harris is going to be a valuable piece of this squad, and D'Amico Ryans is going to do a good job developing him. Most important position, quarterback. A lot of excitement about CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud selected with the number 2 pick. I'm not sitting on the fence, but I'm going to buy and sell CJ Stroud. Now, I think CJ Stroud can develop. I think CJ Stroud can develop into a winning piece. But yesterday, when I talked about, and if you missed that video, go ahead and check that out. It dropped at midnight. CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson. And I talked about the 3 C's: coaching, cast, and capability. CJ Stroud has more capability than Anthony Richardson, but he has uncertainty at coaching. We don't know what Bobby Slowick's going to be. And he has a very unproven cast that might need to, kind of be improved throughout the years to really help him take the next step. So I think there's chance that CJ Stroud can develop, and there can be like a gray area that we look at. But as far as like just really hyping up and gassing up CJ Stroud, I think it would be unfair to him. But I am buying CJ Stroud as the starting quarterback. I'm just not buying the hype. This guy's going to be rookie of the year. We'll see what happens. But I am kind of, I guess I'm on the fence. Am I really on CJ Stroud? Kind of, maybe not. Next one, Derek Stingley, number 4. And I think I just gave you a little sneak peek. Who's going to be number 3, friend of the show, a guy that we all like. Number 4 is Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley, this system's going to benefit Derek Stingley. It's the same system that Sauce Gardner, who was selected to pick after him last year. It's the same system that Sauce Gardner put together, one of the best rookie seasons that we've ever seen for a cornerback. Question's always going to be health. With Derek Stingley. It looks like he's been working out a lot. He's absolutely jacked. When he's on the field, there's no question about it. So I have no choice but to buy it. I also think last year, the missed games, a lot of it was caution. Had the Texans been in the mix, I think there's a chance that Derek Stingley tries to play. I was also very impressed in the game in which Derek Stingley went off the field and then he came right back on the field. So there is some toughness there. I think I can't sit here and like question whether or not Stingley can stay healthy. I think he does have to prove it, but I'm not going to predict the injury. The one thing I know for certain is if Derek Stingley is out there and Derek Stingley is in the system, he's going to ball the F out. So I'm buying Derek Stingley, but of course health is a variable. Damien Pierce, when it comes to the hype. Now, let's just make clear what the hype is with Damien Pierce, because I don't want this to get misconstrued. Damien Pierce is a friend of the show. I love Damien Pierce. I can't wait to see Damien Pierce, talk to Damien Pierce. He'll probably be on the channel during training camp. I think Damien Pierce is really good in a committee role. And I think D'Amico Ryans has said as much. As a matter of fact, he has said as much that he thinks this needs to be a committee. That's what he was at Florida. Last year, he didn't really have anyone that could help him. I've compared him to Marion Barber, pretty much the same size. Marion Barber was better when he was coming off the bench and being the finisher. I don't think Damien Pierce is the bell cow type of guy that, you hand the ball to 20 times in 17 games. I don't think that's a recipe for success. There are some guys who are built to do that. I don't think Damien Pierce is necessarily, it's not that he's not built. It's just with the way that he runs, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. I also, if you look at the Las Vegas, they've kind of told you what they think about Damien Pierce. The over-under on rushing touchdowns, which seems so low, is 4.5. I am not buying the hype on Damien Pierce. Again, I think he's good, but if you're taking him like in the second round of your fantasy draft, and I've seen some people say, he's undervalued at 20 in the ESPN fantasy rankings. I'm not buying that. Am I buying Damien Pierce as a key contributor and a very, 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 very valuable piece of this team for a while, yes. But as far as a bell cow, I think you're kind of setting him up for failure if you wish that on him. Guy who's gotten perhaps the most hype, and you probably feel the best about when it comes to the Texans, Jalen Petrie. You saw the interview with KPRC2, Ari Alexander, where Jalen Waddle said that Jalen Petrie is one of the most underrated defensive backs in the league. It seemed like, he's a Houston guy. It seemed like he was showing a little bit of love to Petrie. We did have the 5 interceptions. We also had damn near 40 missed tackles last year, some ups and some downs. I'm optimistic about Jalen Petrie. I think 8 years from now, Jalen Petrie is still a key piece to this squad. I think he's already established himself as one of the leaders. Actually, wouldn't be shocked to see Jalen Petrie perhaps get a C on his chest. We picked our captains the other day on In the Loop. I could see that happening. They seem to trust him. He seems to be a good guy. That's kind of one of the go-tos in the locker room for this team already, and he established himself as that early on. I'm going to do what I did with CJ here, and I'm going to both buy and sell the hype. Here's the thing with Jalen Petrie. I think he's going to be really good. I do think there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. Like this notion that he's just going to come in here and all the struggles are going to be gone. I think that's a little bit unfair. It's second year. It's a new system. There was just a lot of missed tackles last year, not necessarily all of his fault, but I think he's going to be a good player. I do think maybe it's getting a little bit out of control, and maybe I'm just listening to some people online, Brown Chubby Bear, who wants to put him in the Hall of Fame already. Number 1, Will Anderson. I'm not even going to waste time. 2 thumbs up. I'm buying the hype. I think he's going to be one of the 10 best players in the AFC South. I put out my top 10 AFC South guys. You can go check that video out. The Texans, he was the top player on their board. The CJ Stroud thing was a package deal. Don't care what anybody says. That was a package deal. They wanted to get Will Anderson. They didn't want to risk losing Will Anderson. So, yes, I think Will Anderson is going to live up to the hype. I think they're going to move Will Anderson around. I think the edge guys on this team are underrated. They're going to move him all over the place. We've seen guys drafted in that area and what they've done. We saw Aiden Hutchinson last year. Thank God Jacksonville didn't draft him, by the way. What a bunch of idiots. But thank you. And we've seen some other guys. We're getting the Bosa name throw out there. I saw Cameron Wolf brought that up the other day on Good Morning Football. Shout out to Cameron Wolf. Good job hosting, man. One of the best reporters in the game. I know he loves getting the reps as the host in the studio. Salute to you, my man. U of H alum. Shout out to Cam Wolf doing his thing. He threw out the Bosa thing. I think Will Anderson's going to ball. I think he's going to be great. Tell me where I screwed up, though. Tomorrow, we're going to have the Under the Radar guys. So these are the guys that are getting the most hype, guys who aren't getting enough hype. There's one that I really think we need to pay attention to. And the narrative has kind of changed on him from one year to the next. So tomorrow we'll go with the under the radar guys. We'll do it at midnight. I'm going to start dropping videos at midnight during the season. There could be as many as 3 to 4 videos a day. And we're going to have post game. We're going to have all of that. But leading up to the season, I think I'm going to try to do midnight drops. I think midnight's a nice little drop time. You can wake up and check it out. For all you night owls, you can check it out as well. Shout out to all my midnight creepers here on 713 day. Appreciate you for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. No matter what happens, tell me where I screwed up too. And no matter what happens, whether I am not drinking enough Kool-Aid, whether people are drinking too much Kool-Aid, let me know what you think in the comments. And no matter what happens when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in this together. Thanks for coming in the locker room.
Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on you.